There we go. Well, we'll let you get rock and roll, Stefan. This is the most unprofessional beginning to a live stream ever.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to bring you a very different UKPW insider. It is I, of course, the mouthpiece from the southeast, Kieran Crotter, quite simply the mouthpiece, doesn't matter which, as long as you get it right. And today we are joined not by one owner of UKPW, but two. So far, we may or may not be expecting senior official Martin Raymondson to join us. I don't know, when he can count to 10, maybe he'll arrive. But it's my pleasure to present to you Dale Jones, as you know, Alex Gilbert, as well as Jack Fenton, also known as Fentos. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Happy Saturday to you both.
This is quite fun. I think this is going to be quite fun. I can see already that we've got a few watchers. So hello, hi, thanks for watching. Send in some questions. Sorry, Stefan. Sorry, Kieran.
Absolutely, yeah. If you can bring some questions, then that would be even perfect. We'll get those up as soon as anyone wants to ask any. That would be fantastic. So, just looking at Fentos' background there, and I don't see Sheldon Cooper sitting in your spot.
No, but I am wearing the Rubik's Cube shirt, so good enough.
Of course. So, gentlemen, it's been a while since I last spoke to you. We were still scheduled to do a part 2 of our very long interview that we've been doing. We may not get to that. Depends on how this goes. How's things been for you two behind the scenes since I spoke to you both?
I'll let Fentos go first for that one.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, yeah, exactly the same, pretty much. Not too much has changed in my life. Sort of everything's normal with work and everything. I wish I had a better answer for you, but no, it's pretty much exactly the same. I'm quite enjoying not having to deal with real humans in the real world, because I'm not exactly the most conversationalist of people. So this is genuinely ideal for me, just talking to a screen.
Yes. Well, at least you're the right way round this time. For those who have just joined us before we went live, we seem to have had a bit of technical issues with Fentos. He was the 7th. Here we go. It's back. It's the 7th upside down head. I absolutely love
Stay like that. Stay like that. I love it.
This is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. You know, you could even sell this as if this is the way I get my brain to work. Like, this is where I get my genius mindset from being upside down, the rush to the head. Love it. Brilliant. So I'm going to start off, guys, with something very special that the roster got to see, just days ago. We unveiled privately. The fans obviously are still yet to see this. I still can't wait for them. The UKPW Women's Championship title belt. Beautiful, prestigious, and the main important thing as well is the female members of the roster absolutely fell in love with it, and that's obviously sent out a strong message. The feedback I've heard from some of those the members of the women's roster is that it's definitely signaled to them how serious UKPW are taking this women's division that's been created very seriously. They're absolutely loving it. How did you come about with the thinking about the design? What made you go with that sort of design, the colour of the strap, which all I will say is white. That's all I'm going to say, really, until the big unveiling to the public. What was the thought process behind the design?
Oh, love that question. So firstly, for the eagle-eyed looking at my background, if you look very carefully, let's see if I get my finger right, here is the top of the women's title. That's all I'm giving away. I might be nice. You just that's all you're getting. That's all you're getting. That's all you're getting. That's it. No, to spoil it. Whoops.
I just love how you find that that's all you're getting, and then the camera just cuts to Fentos' upside down head, and this is like an extra kick in the teeth for those who are desperate to see it.
No, to go into detail. So as we've spoken on previous editions of Insider and other interviews, UKPW never had any real women's division, and that was always sad. I know I'm repeating myself from a previous interview, but I've learned now that representation is quite a big deal for people. Like, to see, like, oh wow, I can do that. So one of the personal goals for mine was if you take UKPW as a whole, I want a place where people can build experience. That's kind of where we're coming from. So I will get back to the women's title, I promise, but it's to try and create as many jobs as possible. It's like now we're doing a live stream now. Full disclosure, this is a test. This is to see how it works, to see what we can learn from it, what does, what doesn't. Oh, I think we're about to get Mr. Martin Raymondson on board. So I'll try and finish my answer before the referee counts to 3. But it's trying to build as much experience for people as possible. So commentary, live commentary, you don't get, it's okay to pre-record it, it's okay to do it in post-production, but actually to do it live is a different skill set. So it's trying to build up the experience. So coming back to the women's division, there's female-only promotions, which is great. Holiday camps have maybe 1 slot per show. And so I was thinking, right, okay, I'm not qualified. That's the first thing I must stress. I am not qualified to talk about women's wrestling. That's the first thing. And there's Martin. Hello.
Yes, welcome, senior official Martin Raymondson. You're currently on mute.
Good.
So muted yourself. I know Dale Jones would be happy with you staying silent, but we'll keep those personal differences aside for today.
Why didn't it join me with audio? I hate technology. Apologies for being late. It's just the person I am.
Yeah. It's a good answer. I'm having that answer. Yeah, sorry to continue. So the women's division was something that if I had a priority list, so okay, we've got this gap, there's no wrestling shows that we can do. So we sort of did an audit of what needed updating, what needed doing instantly. And then these two gents will back me up on this one, because I was quite like, we need the women's belt. We need it done. And as you can see from behind me, and I can show you there's more in other rooms, wrestling belts are a big thing for me. I remember as a kid just being in awe of them. And so to take that logic for a second, as a child, wrestling belts are awesome. So there's nothing wrong with other promotions' belts. I can't stress that enough. But when sometimes I've seen a kid hold like a replica belt as a promotions championship, and there's a little bit of luster lost, because it's like, well, this is just the toy belt as the title. And okay, fine, it's what it is. But I was thinking, we're in a lucky position where that we don't have to do that. We can really, really reinvest in these things. So as you can see behind me, sorry, wrong side, you can see the UKPW heavyweight title. But of course, you can see it's got the old logo. So one of the things we started to think about was, okay, well, we need to get the new logo on the belts. So then it was like, right, well, all the belts need updating. And I'd rather it be done in quality rather than a speedy one where we then have to redo it again in a year or so. So it was like, right, well, we've already got a heavyweight title, we've already got tag belts, we've already got the interregional, but we don't have a women's title. And then coming back to your question about the women's division, I genuinely want to make it quite a big focal point, because other promotions don't. So again, giving marketing logic away, I don't want to be the same as everyone else. I want to be different. I don't want to be better or worse. I want to be different. So having a women's division doesn't necessarily make us different, but having a division that treats it, I don't want to say more seriously, but for lack of a better term, if we treat it more seriously, that makes us different. So it's like, right, well, how can I represent this? How can I get in? I don't want to say the word instant buy-in, but how do I get instant buy-in from the women that we want to get into our promotion? Okay, cool. We need a good belt. So there's a belt in, and again, to spoil it, again, if I just slightly tweak the camera there we go. I'm a big fan of the New Japan title belts. They're so good. And for anyone that is a belt fanatic, they have a lot of what's called stacking, lots of layers on their belts. And that's what gives it the weight and the prestige. And there's a particular title. So to give the game away, it's the IWGP Intercontinental Championship. And I like that belt. And but every time I see it, I'm going to offend a lot of New Japan fans, and I'm so sorry. I always think that looks like a women's belt. I don't know why. It just, to me, it just comes across as like, I don't know, maybe it's a gender bias thing, but I'm looking at it going, it looks like a women's title, a really good one. And then I thought, like the joke I think I told Martin and Jack was, well, we can do that. Like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if we had a belt like that? Wait, we can. Oh my God. So essentially, to give the game away, it's a very similar design to the IWGP Intercontinental.
And what I love as well about the design is because it looks, I mean, I'm a firm believer. especially as like yourself. You know, we grew up as fans from the 80s and the early 90s. We believe that, you know, championship belts, they represent the promotion. Championship belts should look prestigious. They should look like an honor to carry, to be the top guy, top woman of your respective division. And I think when you look at, and I can only say it until the public finally see it, when you look at the women's championship belt, it screams prestige. And then you kind of look at the old belts, and this is not any disrespect to the older championship belts, but it looks more professional and even more prestigious. That belt has already gone up another level, so it's now kind of a case of like, I know from the male members of the roster, they're all probably chomping at a bit, thinking, well, what are they going to come up with for the brand new championships that we're going to be going for? Mm-hmm. And you know, I know you've toyed with the ideas of different colour straps. You've put up polls about, you know, what does everyone else think? And that's the other thing I love as well, is the fact you're reaching out to everyone involved in some way, shape or form and saying, tell us what you think. You know, this is our promotion. This is these are our championship belts. You guys are going to be competing for these. So what gives you the buzz? What makes you think, I think that would be perfect. That design or that specific color strap would look perfect. How does, you know, how do you really come to that, you know, decision, especially when it comes to the male championships?
I'll take this one again. As I think both these guys will be like, yeah, Alex is the belt guy. Yeah, so
about belts. The spinner belt's his favourite. I'm putting it out there. I just no. Carry on.
But every other belt doesn't spin. If you have a thing that does a cool thing, so I don't get it.
I just realised I have the power to mute everyone, so I might mute Jack whenever he mentions a spinner belt.
Fair enough.
But all joking aside, actually, so this is on a tangent. This isn't going to answer your question, Stefan. But like, if you look at the screen right now, you've got different ages of people on the screen, and you've got different. When it comes to the wrestling background, you've got almost 4 very different backgrounds. So if we pick on Fentos for a second, his main background blows my mind that it's the ruthless aggression era, and it blows my mind that someone would watch ruthless aggression and go, I really like this is great, and that blows my mind. But then you can say that about me. I was on the tail end of the golden era, but I was involved more in the new gen, which also people look at going, how could you like that? People make fun of the Royal Rumble 95. I love that because the story was great. Number 1, number 2, Bulldog and Sean. Bulldog gets screwed. Bulldog is now my favourite wrestler of all time, if you see where I'm coming from. Then obviously yourself, Stefan, big time on the golden era stuff. And then you got Martin, which always fascinates me because, of course, his introduction, I'm sure we'll talk about this later, was like WCW Thunder. Do you know what I mean? Like that era. And so you have all these different sort of backgrounds. So coming back to the belt thing, is that this is what I like, is that wrestling, there's not, despite what people will say, there's not one way. Of course you were going to do that. Of course you were. But there's not one way of doing wrestling. There isn't. So again, like you can see the belts above me here. I've got the $1 million title, which is a golden era title. I've got the Winged Eagle, which is sort of the both generation thing. I've got the ECW one there as well. I like all of it. Obviously there's wrestling I don't like, but if someone goes, that's rubbish, that's an opinion. And so coming back to this and coming back to your point, Stefan, about getting people's opinions, I want to get as many opinions as possible, download, digest that information, and then go, right, okay, these 7 people said this, 3 people said that, 2 people said this. Okay, well, what, all of these minds together, is there a compromise? Is there a better solution? And that's sort of my philosophy for the whole thing. So very quickly, for anyone, I've seen that people are watching live, which is amazing, by the way.
Yeah, we will get to your questions shortly.
And I just love, I did an interview for a podcast the other day, Tea and Tights. And again, I can't stress enough, I had not an outpour, that's probably a bit extreme, but I had a lot of wrestlers going, I really liked the interview, really like what you're trying to do. And so really the headline of this is, actually, I want to get as many people's opinions because I want a wrestling company and a wrestling organization that people are, 1, proud to watch, 2, be proud to be a part of, and 3, which is my ultimate dream goal, is for someone to use it as a stepping stone to get somewhere else. As mean or as weird as that sounds, that's my personal goal.
I don't see it as it sounding ridiculous or anything like that. I mean, you look at, I always take this as an example. Sam Stoker, as people will remember in UKPW, Sammy Smooth, is a member of the NXT UK roster. It was part of Pretty Deadly. So, we all know very well. I've called these matches, I've announced him. You guys have worked with him. It goes to show that the sky is the limit. I mean, if guys as talented as he is can make it there, why can't anyone else? It's like you said, a stepping stone to going even higher. I mean, that then also I feel validates promotion, showing that we for a period of time have helped showcase them to show everyone what they can do. They've been noticed, they've been scouted, they've been offered a fantastic opportunity, and they've taken it. And that's where it's probably always sad to lose a tremendous competitor on the roster, absolutely. But if they're achieving their dream and they get to that spot, then I would say that it's almost like a job done as a promotion. We've kind of helped them catapult to that position, so in a way,
absolutely.
It's perfect.
Apologies to make this the Dow Jones show. I promise the other guys will get a chance to actually say something. But one of the things to talk outside of wrestling for a second, the biggest honor in a professional sense, in an office, in any kind of organization, is that when you see a member of your team get promoted into another role, to me, that's the best honor. You allowed them to, develop. And so taking from the HR world, from the professional world, and trying to apply that into the wrestling world is sort of where I'm trying to go. If I can help someone, even if it's a tiny thing, a bit of exposure, promo experience. If we pick on you, sir, it's the live commentary. There are other wrestling commentators that don't do it live. Your CV says you've done 20 shows live. Therefore, I'm not saying you're definitely more qualified, but on paper, you're more qualified. And that's sort of the approach I'm aiming for, at least anyway. Yeah,
and from my position, I mean, I can't speak for Ross Griffith. I'm going to leave him alone today, but I will name drop it. When we talk privately about ideas for the commentation station, which it will most likely get that name officially, and we love it anyway. Ross and Cross, the other one as well. But it's when you're showing us designs of what you think what you would love the area to look like for us. I'm looking at it and I'm just thinking, wow, this is fantastic, because you've got just guys like me and Ross who are just trying to do our best, and yet you're showing as much enthusiasm and as much your approach to wanting to give us the best possible look for our area, to make us look as good as possible. That's one of the other things which I love about the direction of the promotion is, there's no area that appears to be going untouched. Everything wants to be lifted up to that next level, to look the part, to look amazing. For example, like when the fans come, the experience, to sit there instead of just going, oh yeah, that was a bloody great show, fantastic, we'll go home now. It's a case of coming along going, oh wow, this isn't the UKPW we remember. Nothing wrong with the UKPW we had, but this is UKPW times 100. And it's not going to be what they're familiar with. So it just gives that wonderful indication of just how serious this relaunch is, and the target for wherever we could end up in the next sort of 5 to 10 years. Hopefully, sky's the limit, as we've said. Let's just answer a couple of the questions and then we'll go on to another subject. Stuart, one of the roster members, Stuart Shepherd, has asked what's happened to Fentos' face. Yeah,
that's not Fentos, that's me.
We've got one from Josh Dolby. I believe that's a fan who's desperate to see the Women's Championship belt. He's asking when we can see that. That's not my decision. That's your guys' decision.
I'll give a very quick answer. It'll probably be Easter Sunday.
There we go. There you have your answer. Again, a lot of focus on Fentos for some reason.
Why not?
Draw. Exactly. People agree with the spinner belt.
He also says Fentos has got a job at Michael Scott Paper Factory. Liv Stevens also suggests light up belts.
Yeah, not gonna lie, that nearly happened. That nearly happened. Very, very quick story. There was you know, the LED strip lights. When I had the lights in my boots and everything, we tried to do it. I forget what show it was. It didn't work out. It didn't make any sense. But the closest to it was I got some of those runners, you know, like the green things they put on the back of their shoes, so you see them. There's I can't remember the show. That's really bad. But I stuck them on the top and the bottom of the belt. So when I walked out doing all my stuff, it was just flashing green. Which so nearly, but maybe one day there's a demand. So maybe we'll do it.
Fantastic. So
with spinning.
Don't encourage him. don't encourage him. So we've covered, you know, with the women's division. I mean, do you have a rough number in your head of how many members you would like to have in the roster to kickstart? Because obviously we're in discussion about how we're going to kickstart the women's division for the championship, whether it will be a multi-show tournament, whether it will be a battle royal, Royal Rumble style event, all sorts of things, an elimination match. Do you have a rough idea number in your head of how many you're hoping to get on board before the launch? Or would you say you're happy with what we have and that being a decent enough number?
I mean, I'll jump in and then let these guys have their thoughts, because this is exactly the point. There's no correct answer to this. That's the thing. There is no correct answer.
It's opinion-based, yeah.
Yeah, so the ultimate goal of my vision, but let's remind ourselves that there's all of us in this conversation, is that eventually I'd actually like it to be quite, if we go down the gender route, I'd actually quite like it to be 50-50. That's the ultimate goal, is to have 50% men's matches, 50% women's matches. And that's not to say that there couldn't be an intergender type of thing going on either. Obviously, it all depends on the situation and the story. Gender shouldn't really be a thing. But however, if we're going to go down that route, the ultimate goal would to do 50-50. If you think about shows having 6 to 8 matches, let's say they're individual matches, I'd need a minimum of 8. If you see where I'm coming from, that's the minimum. If we go down the tournament route, nothing wrong with an 8-person tournament, but I prefer a 16. So when it comes to an official number, I couldn't say 16. However, again, so I'm aware that I've taken over everything. I like the idea of having like some core people that we have on almost every show, or at least every other show, and then bring in people from an experience point of view. So I couldn't give you names now because, of course, I've not spoken to these people yet, because we're still a long way away. We don't know when we'll be able to do shows.
Well, we're still doing the roster reveal every week anyway.
Yeah.
So.
And again, actually, on a side note as well, because I know some people have given me some stick about it, because they're like, well, they haven't, how can they sign for you? They're independent. Exactly, I agree. We're trying to have a bit of fun, trying to go like, these are the people that we want to use and go forward. That's not to say that we're only going to use these people. It's just to have a bit of fun and to almost sort of go, oh yeah, they are planning something. That's not to say other promotions aren't, but if I can't see you, I don't know. Yeah. It's for anyone that's into marketing, it's called front of mind marketing. If you don't know we're there, when we then launch, who the hell are these guys? So at least if we're doing something, we're just trying to have a bit of fun. I appreciate
making that big bang and just announcing that we've arrived and
we're
to have fun.
But on the women's thing, it's to sort of remind people, like a bit like this conversation now. It's like, yeah, no, that's the direction we want to go in. We want to launch it, and the fact that people are already talking about it helps. And then we've already had other women approach us, going, yeah, we'd like to come on board, which is fantastic. Anyway, sorry, that was my answer. 8.
8. Not 10. 8. 8. We're going with 8 on that one. This was something which was asked off camera in a discussion. Depending on how the women's division grows, and we will move on from the women's division grows, would there be potential there for, if the female roster was large enough, for UKPW Women's Tag Team Championship?
I'm going to let these guys got to answer some questions. I'm saying I'm going to keep quiet for the next 5 minutes.
I'll let you field this one, Martin.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, why not? Alex is gone. Why wouldn't we? As Alex said, if we want to have a 50-50 split down the shows, why wouldn't we have women's tag champions as well as men's tag champions?
Sorry, Karen.
No, go on.
I tell you to go, then I interrupt
now
you.
he wishes to speak. Fentos, the floor is yours.
Damn it, Fentos.
No, sorry, I was just going to interject with the point that the idea I think we all have is to get this as frequent as possible, especially with the shows. We want to go to as many places as possible, and we want to try and make it as frequent as possible. So I think for the beginning, when we do like one show a month in one place, because there's only 6 or 7 matches on the show, there's not really time to have infinite titles. But I think the more we can, in theory, expand this, the more time you have and the more places. So you can put things like women's titles in. You could put things like, I don't know, a 6-man title. I know that Alex quite enjoys Shikara, and they have all the 6-man stuff. X Division title. That's one of my things. I would love to.
A 24/7 spinning title.
Yes, exactly.
24/7 48.
I'll be back. I'm just going to draw a design. I'll be right back.
No, exactly. But I think the idea from all of us is to scale it up. So we want to start with the core things: the UKPW Championship, Interregional, Tag Team, and Women's. And then I think the hope is going forward. A big conglomerate of things.
An exploding title belt.
Yeah, yes. If you hold it, it detonates. The hot
potato.
No one wants that belt. If you have it, you die.
Right, we've got a question. Where are we?
Oh yeah, we're live.
£5 to answer questions.
Liam Stevens. Any chance of other promotions belts being defended at UKPW? That's a very good question.
Yeah, sorry to jump straight in. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I'm sure we can talk about it another time on another interview, because I'm aware I've chatted loads. But the original idea of the women's division was actually another promotions women division. That was the idea. To sort of go like, right, cool. We're not qualified. We don't know. You know. So we would love to promote you. And I'm very, very keen on the collaboration thing. So I'm going to say this now. If there are promotions watching this now, give us a shout. I'm very up for it. Yeah, maybe very open. So yeah, short answer, yes. I think initially the problem is we don't know a timeline. Again, I'll hold my hands up to this one, and I'll admit this. I'm always very optimistic with a lot of things. I think if you don't plan for the good, well, what's the point? So in my head, in sort of like October, November, we were very close to doing a show, and then it was like, right, a timeline. Okay, let's look at the history. Let's look at last year. What happened? Okay, well, pubs and things did open again in the summer. Okay, could we run a show? And anyway, I had this like optimistic goal that there may be a chance of running a show towards the end of May. So a lot of the roster reveal and a lot of the plans were to build up to an announcement of a show in May or June. That was sort of my vision with that. Of course, though, in the meantime, the numbers of the thing that we don't really want to mention went ridiculous. So that's sort of off the cards now. So coming back to the question, is I think initially we're going to have to stay quite self-contained. That's not to say that we wouldn't do a joint show with someone, especially for a relaunch. But yeah, short answer, would love to. Would absolutely be honoured to be the host of another promotions championship.
I think it's exciting as well, the idea of inter-promotional events, maybe having like our guys versus their guys, or our women versus their women sort of, one-offs. We've seen it happen before. I mean, not that know you in particular, Alex, you absolutely love AEW, All Elite Wrestling. So you must be thrilled with the collaborations they're having with Impact and New Japan, and to an extent, I know it's still fresh. It'll be interesting to see where it goes, but to have those guys tend to showing up on Dynamite, for example, and then you've got you've got guys from AEW showing up on Impact and vice versa and everything. It is, I know a lot of people are marking out over this thing at the moment, but it does create that buzz when you've got. I mean, let's say for example, this is just hypothetically, somewhere down the line in a few years' time, You know, we've got another well-known promotion that may be London-based, for example, and we've got an arrangement set up with them where, you know, they might send some of their guys to come and invade our show, or we might go and invade their show, and we might set up a special event, which is like, could be a one-off, see how it goes, see how it sells. If it does well, it might be something else which could allow us to work with them again in the future.
Absolutely. To jump into Kieran, like to show my age when it comes to watching indie wrestling, one of my absolute favorite shows was FWA versus ROH. Love that because it exposed, I don't know how to word it. I did follow both promotions at the time, but then when they had the collision, indie wrestling loving me was in awe of it, going, so I'm going to get like Doug Williams against AJ Styles. What? I'm going to get Alex Shane versus Paul London. What? Like these weird matches you'd never believe. And then when it happened, I just, because obviously there was no live streaming, you could only go to live events. And I remember being gutted that I wasn't available to go to the show. I forget the location. I just couldn't get there in time. And then had to read the results and go, and I cannot wait to see this DVD. And I sort of want that, like, oh yeah, what would happen if that guy took on that guy? What would happen if this person? And I think with a cleverly booked show, there's two ways you could do it. You could have a real warfare thing, or actually something I've thought about often is just a showcase. Yeah. So let's use two promotions that are, let's just use Kent and Surrey, Sussex as an example, Kent and Sussex. Imagine you had a show that's sort of on the border. Like who really, like no one's offended by having, but if you co-promoted a show, you're now in theory getting Kent fans to look at a Sussex show. You're getting Sussex fans to look at a Kent show. And something I've often thought about is I remember going to shows at 1PW in Doncaster. I made it a weekend. So it'd be like, right, I'm going to go up and see this show with all these cool wrestlers, and I'm going to visit a major city of the country. I used wrestling as a way to travel the country from a fan perspective. So I would love to do that again, but in Kent, because I genuinely believe Kent is great and not enough people come down this way. And I know I can see these faces disagreeing with me on that one.
My face was at Doncaster.
Yeah, okay, my opinion is not valid. Okay, fine. I stand down.
Oh man,
you don't want to come here. We've got a special variant apparently.
I mean, also, I suppose one thing which could really excite fans as well is having, like we're talking about, you know, interpromotional warfare, for example, holding a one-off special event maybe every calendar year. Having a guy where maybe we'll get a bunch of international guys over, you know, not necessarily like massive names, but ones who do indies abroad, and having us, you know, best of like what we've got here in the UK for UKPW against some of them guys, and that also, because a lot of fans love to see, you know, different talents, whether it be luchas, you know, anyone coming over from abroad. You know, we've had guys like Red Eagles come from Portugal. You know, we've had foreign talent compete on UKPW before, but maybe, you know, is that something else which, you know, could potentially be something to maybe look at doing in the future as well? Maybe getting, you know, having a like an elimination tag match, you know, 5 of our UKPW talent against 5 international guys, and having it like a UKPW versus the rest of the world kind of.
The real question here is, will we see Dow Jones face the Hurricane for the privilege of wearing green?
I love this.
Loser cannot wear green.
Comment already goes to Martin Raymondson. That is brilliant. I'd pay to see that myself, let alone call it.
The short answer again is watch this space. There's so many ideas. There's so many things we can do. Obviously, there's lots of problems with the situation at the moment, but they're all ideas. We've got to launch. We've got to get a couple of shows under our belt. We've got to see how everything works. Again, we keep alluding to it, and we are going to keep trying to hold it back, but we may have to reveal it one day. But we've got a lot of production that's behind us now. And we haven't actually
behind my virtual screen.
There you go. Yeah, it's all behind the spinner belt. That's how. And actually, I love that photo, by the way, Martin. It's one of my absolute favourites. No homo. The Lonely Island reference. Yeah, sorry. So we've got to get these shows done. We've got to get these things in place, and then we still haven't had a chance yet to get all of our stuff together. We've got all these things dotted all over the place with loads of different people. and actually we still don't actually know.
We don't know if it works.
Yeah, we don't know how to use it.
I think I made that suggestion about maybe at some point before, like when it's safe to, but before we relaunch, maybe hiring out a reasonably sized venue for the day just to get everything set up and just run through everything to make sure everything works.
This has already been discussed. That is likely to happen at some point, and also we'll probably get a few of the wrestlers down and be like, right, you've not wrestled in like a year. Do you want to come down and maybe wrestle not in front of people?
yeah. Would you like to do a cinematic match?
WD-40 and everything, just spraying those little joints going. We've got another question. I think this is a good question. This is a valid question from a fan. Comes from Martin Carr. Thanks for joining, Martin. With the relaunch of the promotion, will it still be family orientated, or will you be aiming for a slightly older audience? My eldest, 7, loved watching your shows at Gillingham and Falconwood. His younger brother, who's 4, is keen to start coming as well when you relaunch, assuming it'll still be suitable for that age range. Obviously, it's still going to, I mean, we know that's going to be the case, but I know there's been questions about us potentially doing like one-off over 18 adult only shows, which is something that's been in discussion. Mm-hmm. Where kind of are we more leaning to with that? If any of you guys have got an answer or a realistic idea of whether or not that's still potentially likely to happen at some point.
I mean, I can cover this. You guys,
I know there's a lack of over 18 wrestling shows, especially in this area nowadays. Don't all jump in at once.
Okay, cool. All right. Okay, fine. I'm desperate to answer, but I'm aware that it's just me talking.
I thought Jack was going to answer.
I was waiting for an interruption.
Yeah, the short answer, it's going to be the same show. It's going to be the same show. Just think of it like an entrance way. So people walk out and they go to the ring. Okay, that's the process. The wrestling match is the wrestling match. They walk back. But it's all the other things around it. So again, like the entrance way is going to be just bigger and better. The sound quality is just going to be bigger and better. The wrestling is going to be essentially the same wrestling. It's going to just look nicer. Is probably what we're trying to get at. It's going to be the same thing. On a bit of a spoiler, as you mentioned there as well. Yeah, there is a gap of the over 18 show, and there is a little tiny itch that I'd like to scratch with that. But to be clear, we would be very clear with the marketing to go like, this is an adult show. This is essentially almost like what do they call it? Like a silo show. Like this is almost nothing to do with this production. Almost a bit like the early days of NXT, where NXT was almost like, we all knew it was a part of the WWE, but they sort of booked it like it was his own universe in a way. Like there was no and people would get pulled up to WWE and there'd be different gimmicks. You go, when did that? What? But yeah, short answer is the same.
You mean in a way? I mean, we could look at it as though when WWE, before they relaunched the WWE CW that we kind of knew, when they did the One Night Stand collaboration with the ECW, it was, everyone knew it was WWE carrying the banner because, well, they had their guys on there anyway, but it was sort of more of an adult show. When you've got Kurt Angle, when people are chanting about a certain thing that Kurt Angle apparently does, and he's quite clearly respond, "Your mother showed me how," and it was kind of like, "Oh, Kurt, didn't expect to hear that coming from you," and there was more blood and etc. So it is a case of making that perfectly clear, saying yes, this is UKPW, but this is strictly over 18s only, and obviously that'll be, if we do poster advertising, that will be, in bold, over 18s only. But also, this is something which someone's mentioned to me as well. They're saying in terms of, I think people are trying to get a rough idea of what our production is going to look like. They're thinking, is it more in line of how IPW kind of looked? Is it been moved up to that? Because obviously they had, their own, set up with their ring. They had their own entrance, right, with the lighting, etc., and things like that, and they had cameras. Is it more kind of that style of a step forward that we're taking, or is it kind of in between? Is it not quite there, or?
I mean, it'll be in between for the time being. Obviously, we can't step straight into having a venue, having a ring, having a base as such. As with most indie promotions, is we won't have a base. We'll be trying to be mobile. hopefully in the future, yeah, we will get a base, and then yeah, maybe we can have a ring, a massive extravagant entranceway and stuff that doesn't need moving. The problem is with a lot of this equipment is you need to store it and keep it somewhere. That IPW had that their shows at that base, so they could store all the gear there, and that worked well for them. But we don't have a base, as with most indie promotions. We won't have a set base as yet. In the future, we may obviously have words with venues and be able to store bigger and better equipment. But as much as we want to go extravagant, you also have to kind of think of logistics of transportation and storage as well. Because at the end of the day, this has probably got to come back to someone's house, their garage, their off building, maybe even in their house, like bits of gear just kicking around. So
I just had a flashback from our insider, Martin, where you talked about riding from B&Q on bikes carrying bits of table. You see you riding your bikes down the street and everything with bits of the parts of the ring, like a ring post over your shoulder.
Yeah, that's what happens when you backyard.
Move on.
We're not going to talk about that today.
It's okay. We returned the trolleys to Sainsbury's. That's all I'm saying.
Oh dear.
A mid ground is a good starting point. Is there will be a ring involved and there will be some form of entranceway, and then once we've done maybe our tester show before an audience, we can see if there's anything needs improving, if there is room to be able to store more. But yeah, there's only a finite amount of space, storage, and transport to begin with.
Yeah.
Obviously, expansion is always the goal, but slow and steady.
To give you a bit more of an insider into our logic, with the constraints that Martin's talking about, we're trying to go as ridiculous as possible within those constraints. So the ideas are just to the point where it's superfluous and unnecessary. We're just doing everything we can within the current theories.
Overkill is underrated.
That's on a t-shirt. I'm having that.
That's it, branded. You've got it.
We found the new slogan.
A question that's come up, which I know we've discussed before. I just will elaborate on it again. Like IPW, could we book former WWE superstars, TNA guys, and everything? One day, like again, it's a case of you've got to make sure it's financially viable because they cost, and they do cost a fair bit. You've got to make money to spend money to start off with. That's something I know, which you said that one day that would be an idea to get a special attraction to appear on a show, but that's further down the line.
Yeah, and I also think to begin with, we want to focus on the English guys. We want to focus on people like there's so many fantastic wrestlers, infinitely better than myself, already around us. So we want to use them guys before and try and elevate their stature and make them as good as possible and get as much exposure as possible initially. And then in theory, in future, we can bring in people who have a better name to work with those people to elevate them even more and then shoot them to the stars.
Unless someone can get on social media and we can make Dow Jones versus Hurricane, Green versus Green, the Battle of the Greens, make it trend and get the guy extremely interested when he might actually think, do you know what, the hell with it, I'll come over, let's do it. Who knows, get us trending on social media, people. That's what we want to see. But I want to see that match. What about giving the opportunities to rookies, guys and girls who are towards the end of their training, sort of wanting to play, potential dark matches like before the actual show kicks off, and that would we be seeing opportunities given to some of those and letting the fans know that this is the sort of match it is. It's like rookie versus rookie. It's their first experiences of wrestling in front of an audience. Is that something which is potentially on the cards?
Short answer, yes. Yeah. Don't want to give too much away. There is a bit of a plan. I suppose what we can say is a shout out to the Catch-22 guys in Gravesend. Let's just word it this way. Obviously, it's not a formal document, but we've got a good relationship with those guys. So talk about the women's division thing. Yep, that's a key thing. But the next thing is how can we get people experience that wouldn't have got experience elsewhere? It's one thing to do a training match. It's one thing to do a match in front of your trainees, but it's a different thing to be in front of an actual live audience. And I would love to create, again, we've got planned, I'm going to give it away because I'd like to launch it and everything like that. But imagine having I don't want to say a safe haven, it's the wrong phrase, but to have this dedicated area, which is like, to use your words, is like the dark match, right? If everyone knows what this is, if something goes wrong, you sort of allow it. It's a bit like when you go see amateur dramatics and something goes wrong, you sort of expect it because you've been told, like, by the way, this isn't Broadway. Oh yeah, it's not Broadway. But if they don't bring it up, you get a little bit cheated. So we've got an idea of how to do that. But really essentially tell people like, look, by the way, these are new people. But yeah, looking forward to launching that. Couple of ideas, couple of visions we can go. But yeah, short answer, definitely.
I think the fans would appreciate it because without giving anything really away, you've kind of given enough away to, grab people's attention and think, well, at least we know that they've got something in the pipeline for that. So it's something which was going to be dealt with at some point down the line. So it is most likely, as you said, a yes. That will be, you've got saying it's how you're going to present it to everybody, which I think is absolutely fantastic. This isn't really a question. It's more of a comment from Chris. Will Fentos have a Nobel Prize and a belt side by side?
Hello, Chris. Yes, one of my fellow mathematics people. So he knows exactly what the score is with that.
Is this a Nobel Peace Prize?
Funny.
No, literally the opposite because it's violence.
Good answer.
I'm still working on getting my That's the other thing as well for the mouthpiece. I'm still working on getting my trophies for my personality of the years. I just got to have them. I might just plant them in front of Ross so he's got to stare at them. And that.
You leave them on the commentation station. Exactly.
Commentation station.
That's what it's going to be.
It took me a little while to get used to that, but I've resigned to the fact that he is actually quite a genius.
Everyone knows about the Spanish announce table. We're going to have the commentation station.
The Ross and Cross commentation station.
Exactly.
Blows off the tongue.
I mean, but what looks better? What would get fans more going? Someone going through the commentation station or someone being crashed through Ross Griffith?
Oh.
Let's put a poll up.
Surely, if he's sat at the table, both.
Yeah.
Very true. Shout out to Ross, by the way.
Yourself.
Yeah, we could do both.
Does that mean the ring is my countation station?
Yes. Correct.
I still remember. I still have those memories of that Sid Manelli, and I'm sorry to bring this up, Dale. That drop kick off the apron where you went through that table, and literally like.
That's one of my favourite stories because, again, I know we've got other things to talk about, but I love this story because I'll always remember because I was saying to Fentos, I was going like, well, I'm going to do this spot where this happens and I'm going to go through the table. And I remember the look you gave me as if to go, that's going to be a real solid table. Like, are you sure you're going to, do we not need to gimmick it in some way? And I was like, no, we'll be fine. I'm ridiculously heavy. Of course I'm going to break it. So yeah, and I remember actually David Francisco's got quite a fun story about this because I'm not really known for doing them kind of things, let alone being mildly athletic of any kind. And I love hearing David's version of the story because he was just watching the match. Yeah, fine, wrestling. And you watch it and you can see it coming. But sorry, side note. So I think I told Buff and only Buff about it. I don't think I told you, Stefan. I'm not sure. But I think I told Buff.
Yeah, you did say that was why there was the other table there. But
yeah,
it's kind of the impact of the front table impacted the other table.
Yeah. So I'd noticed when we were setting the thing up, people kept putting stuff on the commentary table. And I kept going, oh, no, I can't do that. Because if there's something sharp and pointy there, that's going to be a problem. And it's so I said to Buff, I was like, do me a favor before the match, make sure there's nothing there. And then I can't think who said it to me once, but I'm a big fan of now we're breaking all the rules. Like everyone knows, they own this, they do this, like breaking kayfabe essentially. But I like those moments where you don't know what's real, what's not. And so one of the ideas, and I'll always remember this was an IPW show I went to in 2006, I think it was, and Kid Cash was on it. And Kid Cash absolutely berated this old man in the front row, and people were so angry at him. Like there was like legit, like, don't have a go at him. And there was like an unwritten rule, I believe, or at least the fans were told about this unwritten rule somehow, where don't go near the merchandise table. Don't go near the merch because you might damage it. And obviously obviously the first thing Kid Cash does is just go
look with your eyes.
Yeah, and literally just sabotages everything. Like, and obviously there's legit, and you're like, is he angry with the promotion? I'm not quite sure. So there was that like, oh, this looks scary. And I like those moments like, oh, is this real or not? Anyway, so I kept thinking, people know the commentary table's there, and you sort of just assume it's there. But I forget the phrase, but you know it's there, but you don't notice it, but you know it's there. And because we had the camera on it, obviously to get the better angle, because it's our gear, I was thinking, it would be nice to do a commentary table spot. But of course, if we did that, if we move the table, it's obvious we're going to do it. But if we did do it, the cameras are going to fall. And then I thought about going, but they're my cameras. I don't mind if I break my own camera, because this could be quite fun. And it should be okay. Anyway, so obviously we set the scene up, fine, drop kick, boom, fall through the table. And the way David Francisco describes it, it was like, A, he wasn't expecting it. But B, he's like, you flew a shocking distance, and it's as if you floated and then crashed down with the weight of a Titanic through the ungimmicked table. And it was a really good magic trick as well, because if you look at the second table, the curtain thing gets pulled, but all the stuff stays in place, which I think is, no one notices this. I'm the best magician ever. Go through the table, thing comes off, but it's the when the camera falls. Anyway, yeah, camera falls.
That explains the top hat.
It explains the top hat. That's why I don't like Couch Crowley.
Remember as well, watching it back, literally all you could hear Buff Broadside was like, quick, save the camera.
Save the camera. And again, that was actually going to be a story that we never got to play out, was that I wanted to do the story of like, you only, because I fed him that line. I was like, can you say something about the equipment and not me? And then the best bad guys have good motivations. They just apply it wrong. And it's like him saying save the camera, not save Dow Jones. I wanted that to eat away, bearing in mind that Buff wore lights and had tassels. So I wanted to do this story where we wrote our own story, and that was the seed for if and when we needed to pull it out, was you were more interested in the £100 camera than the person that gave you your shot, that kind of promo. Anyway, sorry, I'll get to the fun part. Did the spot, cool, fine. Then when we packed everything away, obviously people were like, oh my God, that was quite fun, didn't expect that. But when I got back and I was starting to upload the footage onto things, I had 5 messages on my Dow Jones page going, are you all right? Was that meant to happen? And I was a bit like, I don't know what to do here, because it's done exactly what I wanted it to do. And I did a bit of a social experiment, and I feel very mean. 3 of them, I told them exactly what had happened. 2 of them, I pretended that I'd really hurt myself. And I don't know what happened with that, but yeah, there you go. But yeah, sorry, table spot, fun stuff. Expect more of that madness.
We've got a question from Josh Wallace. Is there a match within UKPW that hasn't happened previously that would bring you the most enjoyment to watch, commentate, referee, who versus who? Oh, that's an open one to all of us.
Yeah, really. Let's go Fentos first.
Yeah, we'll go with Fentos first.
I would love to see a hair versus hair match. Yes. Just because I think, especially if you're there live and someone loses, someone everyone hates loses, they just see their reaction. No, they try and run away, grab them, physically put them in the chair. I think there's a story with Raven as well where they use the clippers on the run side and just scar the skull. Obviously, we'll do it correctly.
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
that had to be a win, surely.
So without bloodying anyone's skull, I think that would be quite a fun, memorable image for whoever's in attendance. Martin.
That is a good answer.
Why are you pointing down? I'm next to you.
In my perspective, you're down.
No, on the live stream, I'm next to you.
Easy. Family show. Family show.
Oh, an Inferno? No. Oh God, he's upside down now. Look what you've done.
Wouldn't it be great if we could just
now Martin's that way.
Where that logo should be.
Oh, that's a good point. Oh, why did I think that? No. Sorry, you carry on while I amuse myself.
Oh, see, we've done most of the matches now. Although I'd love to see an on a pole match done with more production values.
Oh, don't even get me started on that top out on the pole match.
Because
It's ridiculous.
my worst feelings played out in front of me as that match
I
happened.
couldn't believe that Charles Crowley even agreed to it because I'm a fan. I love Charles Crowley. I think he's fantastic. But I just thought, okay, and then seeing this flimsy pole, I was just thinking, yeah.
I think there is still a section of chat somewhere from when we're discussing this going, have we got this poll right? Oh yeah, it'll be fine. And there's me going, I'm just worried someone's going to lean on it and break it. And what happens exactly in the match is Dow Jones leans and oh god, it's gone.
I only take one thing away from that match in the footage, and that's the bit after I think he slammed Dow Jones and she goes, oh, he's a big boy.
Yeah.
That match. It was so ridiculous.
Great.
But yeah, and on a pole match would be one. I'd like to see where's my laptop going? I'd like to see a Falls Count Anywhere done in front of an actual audience, unlike the last time we did it.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good answer.
Because there always a laugh, especially if you've got a fairly willing venue who allow you to wander around and roam. Because you can, depending on where you are, you can be like, suddenly we're in the street. Suddenly we're in a field in the middle of nowhere.
That's a good point, because if we were to actually have a display screen where, say, for example, between matches, we can show little video packages building up what's happened up to that upcoming match, we can potentially film segments outside. So you've got part cinematic, part live match. You know, I think that would be a fantastic thing to try and
wearing different coloured trunks.
One, obviously, to make sure it was, because we don't want to look stupid. But for me, I like to go with big extravagant matches. So I would love to see a fatal 4-way cage match for the UKPW title, and for me, I would love to see, just off the back end of where we ended up ending in 2019. Dow Jones, Alexander Roth, Kieran Corrupt, and I'll probably maybe throw Ashmore in there again, just because for the whole significance of, Dow Jones's first cage match was against Ashmore. Like, it's almost reigniting that, but you've also got the fallout of Kieran Corrupt and Alexander Roth as well, plus the fact that Roth got issues with Dow Jones because he obviously took the title from him. So it kind of, for me, to have, say, the four of them in a cage match, I think I would love to call that. That's just a guilty pleasure I would love to see for commentary. I would love that. Just to call that would be epic.
The match, I think I'd still like to do another cage. I know that's not the answer to the question, something that we've not done before, but I would like to do a cage match again. It's such a good question, that, because one of the things I had in my head, I know in other interviews I said about trying to be helpful for everyone. I was thinking, right, I had like a wrestling checklist, because have a realistic goal. What can I realistically do? So that's where, like, I want to do Falls Count Anywhere. That would be fun. I'd like to do on a pole match. That would be fun. And like literally done all these things. So it's a good question. The problem is that the answer I've got in my head when I say it, it's become a bit of a joke now internally, this. So right. I'm 100% adamant with what I'm about to say. And I don't want to get anyone's hopes up, because I'm not saying it's going to happen anytime soon. But I would genuinely like to do some sort of War Games thing with 2 rings. We might have to sacrifice the cage, ironically, but have 2 rings. And this is where
like World War. WCW.
Yeah, like the World War III match. I remember as a kid when I saw that the first time, I was like, oh my God, Hulk Hogan is in another wrestling promotion. My tiny kid brain could not understand that. 2, that's the Big Boss Man. That's not the Guardian Angel. Again, little child brain could not understand that. Yeah, I was like, what? And then the third thing, the third thing was, that's Andre the Giant's son. Blew my mind. 4th thing, there are 3 rings. And it was the greatest thing ever as a kid. So
and we might have to sacrifice indoor show for that one as well.
Yeah, so a terrible answer to that question would be like a War Games thing. And already in my head, I'm thinking, you could actually have 2 promotions with the 2 rings. Just imagine a big sports hall, like a really big one. People walk in, and then you've got the UKPW ring next to the same sized other promotion ring. And then actually thinking out loud, you could have promotion, match, and then the fight, and actually have 2 simultaneous shows essentially. Yeah. But then the final match is the War Games, promotion versus promotion. If there's any promotions listening, there's the pitch. If anyone's interested, come on.
Oh, I love it. I'm going to throw one more out there, just for the simple fact I really, really want it to go viral. I'd love to call Hurricane versus Dale Jones. Sorry, but
green on a pole match.
Green on a pole match.
I think because in some way that would kind of be a bit of a dream for you personally, because I know you love the Hurricane, and obviously I've seen the picture, and I'd just love to see that as a like a one-off special attraction match. I would just love to see that. I think that'd be so much fun. Here we go. I'm surprised to hear from him, an old arch and a nemesis of mine from BECW days. Richard Doyle is put down in regards to the question about any match within UKPW that's not happened. He said anything involving the Varsity Boys, hopefully. Back of my head still hurts from the time he jumped me backstage and put me out of BECW. That telephone, it wasn't mobile, it was a full-scale telephone thrown at the back of my head. Damn it.
Did it work? So you get the action, that's all that matters.
Was it 3310?
Genius.
Any plans to return to put shows back on in the London area?
I think that's doable. I think I don't know about the other two chats. We haven't really gone into mega detail on this, but I think there's already people there. That's the other thing as well. Although we want to put on shows and we want to do all these things, we also don't want to take away from anyone else. We sort of want to keep to ourselves in that sense. Like, we'll collaborate, definitely. That's 100% something. But if people are in London and they're already doing the London stuff, we really don't want to tread on any toes. That's my answer, at least.
It's not far.
No, it's not. No, I think. I mean, short answer, yeah, I suppose we could, but I think we'll focus on what we do now and make that better, and then see what the landscape is in a year's time.
So no electric ballroom shows just yet, is what he's saying.
Yeah. I think that's the emphasis as well of remaining in Kent. The idea is to hopefully be able to secure as many venues from, say, for example, Gravesend all the way to Canterbury. Try and literally, the tour of Kent is kind of, have shows spread out across Kent as often, as frequent as possible. I think is the main idea. Josh Wallace has said, how about UKPW versus NFW?
Oh, there's an interesting shout.
We should have a chat with Jake Pugh. I mean, from the
he knows everyone.
You guys will see it when it's uploaded. It's ready to see. He's got fingers in pies. He's got experience of other promotions. You never know. You could send Jake Pugh off to kind of negotiate.
That game? What's that film game? Where is it Kevin Bacon? Like 7, like
6 degrees of separation.
That's it. Like, that's Jake Pugh. He's everywhere. Like, he's the connection to everything.
Yeah, he even knows my mother somehow.
Even when he's not in, Jake Pugh brings some form of scoop, ladies and gentlemen. I don't even into how
we won't ask questions about that.
Yeah, we'll leave that. Next question.
Other names.
Interview's over.
RCWA, WrestleForce, other names that people are throwing out there. Again, if any one of them are up for that, then available for UKPW.
I mean, to jump in. Like, these are all promotions that I think are great. Do you know what I mean? Like,
sorry,
I'm senior ref for a couple of these. So.
Dad, with a question mark.
The benefits of live. Live, pal.
What Fentos was said about.
He's your puppy.
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah,
have we got any more questions, Stefan? Because I'm aware we've been going for a little while, so we can let everyone get on with their lives.
No, people are impressed with Jake Pugh TV.
This is live now.
This is like we're live forever.
Fentos might be their dad.
Sorry, you're breaking up. I need to go.
Of everything you could have contributed to this, Fentos, is you've contributed defying the laws of camera gravity, a spinner belt and throwing out a lot of DNA questions.
Yeah, I bring the important subjects.
Right. So obviously we've covered before we've spoken briefly about UKPW not just being your average wrestling show in the afternoon, just turning up, watching wrestling, go home, hopefully happy. A lot of emphasis is being thrown around on the experience and that. What kind of ideas are you floating around with those who are very interested in thinking what sort of expect? If you could sell an experience in the early development stages now, how would you go about it? What would you throw out there?
I'll take this one, guys. I mean, you can jump in when you like, but let's use Falconwood as an example. So for anyone that's watching this now has been to our Falconwood show, that's a great example of we take over that whole building. So that whole building is ours. And again, no disrespect to anything that's been done in the past, but there's and I think a lot of promotions probably have this situation as well. You've taken over the whole building. So make it look like your building. So branding everywhere. So that's the first thing. I'm not saying that's the experience. Oh my God, so many logos. But maybe it is. But no, I like the idea that you walk in. And so in my vision, think of like sorry to use the phrase Comic-Con, but think of a Comic-Con. You walk in and you're immersed in everything of that particular thing. So for instance, as you can see, I'm essentially a belt collector. Now, I go back to the question we had. I feel so bad I've forgotten the gentleman's name. But like, he's got a 7-year-old kid, and the kid is watching it and going, wow, wrestling's amazing, or whatever, hopefully. But then, like, as I remember as a child, I was desperate to hold a title. I was desperate. So although it was what seemed like a throwaway joke, this is where the commentation station comes into play. Who wouldn't want to sit behind a commentary desk? Who wouldn't want to hold these titles? Okay, I know Martin doesn't care.
I want to sit behind a commentary table? Sitting? Sitting at a wrestling show?
But yeah, so one of the things I'm keen to do is have these little ad hoc extras. So I'll always remember, again, to spoilers, I'm not saying this is what we're going to do, but something similar. I remember going to like a wrestling event in Leeds, and it was like a meet and greet with Kevin Nash, name drop. And what I liked about it, they did a couple of things there. So you're there for the meet and greet, and you're there to talk to Kevin Nash and get photos and whatever. Cool. But while you were there, they had other attractions because you're waiting a long time because, of course, he's got to speak to 500 people. So they had like a pinball machine. They had a wrestling pinball machine. They had like a collection of Hasbro figures that you could look at. And it's stuff like that where I'm like, yeah, that's what's missing.
I like that you could look at. You couldn't buy them.
No, you couldn't buy them.
Only look.
Only look with your eyes, not your hands.
Only look.
And so, yeah, so what I'm trying to get at is when it comes to the experience thing, I always like promotions where they go like, so again, I think recently on my Facebook, people saw it. I remember when I was 11 being at the Black Lion, now Medway Park, and meeting Yokozuna. And I paid £5, 5 whole English pounds to meet Yokozuna and get in the ring. And it's like, yes, that's what I want. I want more of those experiences. So coming back to the question about the wrestler coming over, absolutely. I mean, again, this is a conversation for a different day, but I've essentially met in all of these meet and greets everyone you can think of because I love it, because I absolutely love professional wrestling. I can't get enough of it, literally. So whenever I go to these events, I try and get as much as I can. And I want to give back as best as I can. So coming back to like this Dow Jones belt, an idea, I'm not saying this is what we'll do, but a kid who has never held a championship belt, that's quite heavy. That is genuine. That's as close to a real belt as you're going to get. So even certain wrestlers have never held a real made wrestling belt. So if you've got, and also side note as well, I'm big on charity. Help out charities wherever possible. So my actual vision would be pay £1 to charity, have a photo with a real wrestling belt. Now, I don't know about a mum and dad. They don't care. But the child, I got to hold the world heavyweight title. In their head, it's a huge deal. So not only do they see the wrestling show, not only do they see good guys win or bad guys win or whatever, but they go home with the experience of going, here's my photo of my child having a great day. That is my vision of it. Oh, I saw some great women wrestlers. Oh my God, I saw this guy and this guy. Do you know, I only paid £5. What a day. Do you know what? Again, previous interview. Do you know what? Your family should come to this thing. I think they're going to be in Gillingham next month. You should definitely come down. More. And all of a sudden now you got 500 people. That's the logic anyway.
I completely get what you're saying. I'm 38 years old. I think I'm the oldest in here. God help me.
I'm in a box.
And as you know, I'm going to my first WrestleMania next year, and I'm like a little kid on Christmas Eve. You know, I'm already planning out what I want to do at Access, WrestleCon. You know, all these other things that are going on. I want that experience. I want to meet other legends I've not yet met, and you know, and mark out and be a child for that week that I'm there, and things like that. So, you know, for a child who's still young and doesn't grasp the reality of wrestling, and that it's still that wonderful world that which we all participate in. For them, that's times by a million, you know. But then to even maybe get to that age like we are now, our sort of age, and still get excited about meeting wrestlers that we watched when we were kids and things like that, having that experience, it is a wonderful thing. And
I'm the worst, by the way. I'm the worst. One of my favorite memories, when I again name drop Eric Bischoff, I was in the queue and there were two people behind me and they were whispering. They were like, I think that's that Dow Jones guy. And already I was like, oh my God, this is really good. And then as like we were just chatting, fine, all good. And then I remember like being 3 foot away from Eric Bischoff and just I couldn't contain my excitement. I'll try my best impression now. I was like, and then like next, I'm such a big fan. I really like you. Can I have a photo? Thank you. And then the photo, and all my photos, I try and do something funny, but that is actually what's happening. I like to think, yeah, I'm a cool guy. It's meeting this guy. Hulk Hogan was the worst. It was, oh my God, I really love you.
I could. When I was there the same day as you, meeting Hogan, and literally my friend videoed. Shout out to my friend Mario, who filmed that bit. Literally, I didn't know how to approach him. Straight away, it was like literally boom, and then he pulled me in for this like big man, and I'm like, this is the Hulkster, and then lo and behold, we posted the photo, but the guy's camera stopped working. He had to go and reset the laptop. So he took me over to do the autograph, and we just stood there for about 10 minutes talking while this guy's having the sorting out. And I was like, I'm just having this wonderful conversation with Hulk Hogan, like, you know, love him, hate him, whatever. But the guy that, you know, got me into this in the first place.
And to bring it back to a UK perspective, when I've been lucky to be on things like All-Star shows and other British promotions. My actual, don't get me wrong, I love the wrestling, I love the meeting everyone, but my actual favourite thing in the world is when they do the meet and greet at the end. That's my favourite, because I'll always remember I annoyed a few wrestlers. I won't name who they were, make them look bad, but they wanted to go home. They were desperate to go home. But of course, I'm thinking what we're talking about, the experience thing. And of course, Dow Jones, the bad guy, he's rich. Why would he be doing autographs at the end of the show? So I like to have a bit of fun with it. Yeah. Where I'm sort of like doing all the like, I lost. Kid walks over and I go, unless you say I'm your favourite wrestler, I'm not signing it. So I do a bit of a show, because of course the parents are paid for the experience. So if I'm just like, yeah, okay, cool, yeah, whatever. I don't mind doing that to the adult, because obviously it's an
kid, buy my T-shirt.
Yeah, right. And again, I won't name the wrestler who I was annoying, but they were getting annoyed because they would just sign it, cool. They'd come to me and they'd have like a minute exchange. And there's at least 100 photos where I've gone like, okay, you're not saying I'm your favourite wrestler. Okay, fine, I can live with that. But shake my hand that I was at least your second favourite wrestler. And they're like, no. Third favourite? Fourth favourite? Have a bit of fun with it. And they go, oh, fine, okay, let's just shake hands and have the photo. Do the business shake hand thing. And then again, if I've got the belt, give them the belt. And then it becomes the experience. And so to them, so this is a massive blanket statement, and I apologise, but not everyone can afford to go to the WWE for a live show, let alone the ticket price, the getting there, the concession prices. They can't. I'm not saying that's everyone. There's a lot of people that can't do that, but they can go to their local hall and they can meet these essentially wrestlers and have just as good of as an experience. So that is what I'm trying to get across, is really adding value to the ticket price. I want everything to stay the same. Just the value proposition is more. That's the crux of it.
Touching on the experience, are there going to be plans to set up birthday packages?
I'd love that. Short answer: if anyone's interested, and I'm going to say this now, just message the page, and we'll probably have to make a formal piece about it. But yeah, 1000% would love to do that. That would be an honest favourite thing to do. Is imagine even if it's just 10 kids and their families there, what an experience that is. I witnessed one in Sheerness, and I remember looking, going, I am so sorry, I shouldn't say this. I'm so jealous of those kids, because I would have killed for that experience when I was 7 or 8 or 9. So yeah, would love to. If anyone's watching and they're interested, yeah, send a message. We'll sort that.
I have, well, jump in briefly there. I've
Please.
done a couple of these as well for WrestleForce has done them, but they've done them before their show. So before the show starts, a couple of hours before, an entire birthday party comes in, and they get 2 or 3 matches put on that aren't going to be on later. So they get their own little thing, and then they get the cake at the end. They loved it.
Great.
They absolutely love it. I've never seen kids so happy that they've had their own private little wrestling show. Granted, I was also MC and ref and taxi. I was everything at once, so I'm in a suit running around.
And now official UKPW party planner. Well done, Mike Raymondson.
Boom, he's got a new job.
So, cake. I like cake. But yeah,
has come out and said it was like that at the Millennium Dome, the O2 Arena, where they have the Sky News thing where you've got a video of you reading the news. So a picture or a video with the commentation station sounds brilliant. Yeah,
no, exactly. I mean, in a perfect world, again. Thank you. So who said that? Who was the comment?
That was Liam Stevens.
Yeah. So Liam, I've seen your stuff online and all the stuff. That's exactly the point. Imagine being able to, like, I'm not saying you'd want a photo with me. I'm not saying that at all. But you have the commentation station that becomes like a separate destination. You know, like the WCW commentating bit. You know, like where it was separate and it had like truss and all that. I sort of see it like that. It's a separate area where interviews could be done, but it's also an area where people can go and get an experience. Here you are at a commentary table. Here you are holding a wrestling belt. Here you are meeting said American wrestler that we've flown over.
Hurricane.
Martin Carr, who was the one who mentioned about the children.
Hello, Martin
Carr. He said all these plans and extras sound awesome. Bring on the relaunch, and I'll be booking me and my boys front row tickets.
Yes. No, thank you so much.
At least 3.
Woohoo!
We're halfway there.
That's more than some places.
It doesn't really decapitate and spin around like that in real life. Just putting that out there in case anyone,
it does,
is a little bit thrown off by that.
It does.
Martin, was you about to say something then?
I said his head does spin in some places. I gotta say, three is good. We've seen less in some venues.
Future content. Obviously, we discuss a lot about the content because obviously Ross and I are behind a lot of the media stuff as well. We've got these ideas again. Fans, even people in the roster, make your feelings on these known. We've discussed things like doing like the pre-show, post-show type things where we'll sort of have a few of us sitting in the ring. We'll have discussions about what's happened on the show, etc. There's a plan to try for me and Ross to hopefully be able to bring up shows which, like a pre-show early in the week leading up to one of our big events, where you will see exclusive interviews with the talent. They will speak about their rivalries, the championship matches. Everything else that we've got coming up, you'll hear it first through us on our social media pages. The idea, and I know someone else has brought it. I know I sent over the idea about something similar to what the Elite do on YouTube, having a show, off the cuff show featuring staff, members of the roster, just getting up to antics. Just whether it be little comedy sketch type things or whatever, a bit like what the Elite do, things like that. If people genuinely want to see more of this sort of stuff and see, us covering different aspects and putting that sort of content, obviously let us know. But is there any other ideas that you've got sort of flashing about in behind the scenes, which
loads?
I know there is plans to possibly have a kind of relaunch documentary. So there'll be a behind the scenes of coming out of this really weird period of life and coming back to live shows and all the effort kind of that has to go behind the scenes, all the logistics. There will be kind of hopefully maybe a documentary style look at it. I say documentary, obviously not rigid because it's us. We don't do serious. Well, I don't.
David Attenborough voicing over. Here we have Martin Raymondson.
I think I need to get in contact with Lance Storm on Cameo so we can insert a brief video message of him saying if we could be serious just for a moment, just to plug in that. That'd be brilliant. That sounds like a wonderful idea. I mean, I think it'd be good for everyone to sort of participate, to be able to give their thoughts on, their journeys with UKPW. And I think also as well, give Anton Green the opportunity as the previous owner to speak about the inception of UKPW, where he took it to handing over the reins to you guys. He's still very much a part of the family. We wouldn't be here without him, obviously. Him and Gabe Myers very much still the tag team champions, the business. I'm sure Anton's still going to tear it up in the ring. So obviously, I think it'd be wonderful as well for Anton to have maybe a platform to be able to sort of just say to everyone, thank you for being with us on this journey. Now we're handing it over to the new era. But I'm still here and I'm going to still see it through as well. I just think this whole documentary idea and everything, I think it's a brilliant idea.
A platform? Was that a jab at his height? I mean, come on, calm down now. Calm down.
Have we got time for one more question?
Final questions. We have.
Sorry, game 10 is cut out. Oh dear.
I'll let you go. See, now it actually looks like, and through them shades, Anton's staring a hole through my soul, if I had one. That's it. Keep your head there, because he's freaking me out.
Oh God.
This is what we love about Fentos. He's very more than the serious genius that you see at shows. Like this is the real Fentos.
Yeah, I actually contribute the least.
Final question. Merchandise. Obviously, some of us normally we independently get our own merchandise and then we just sort of sell it on. Are there plans for us sort of to collectively have our own stall set up where we will have obviously t-shirts, etc. I know I've got the very first ever UKPW pop socket on a mobile phone. It's in. Just throwing that out there as ideas. If you want to get UKPW pop sockets, we can make it happen. Yeah. What are there any plans for merchandise? Maybe making merchandise a little bit more mainstream for like other promotions.
Yeah. Again, I'll jump in. I think the short answer again is yes. One of the things, again, talking about the experience side of things, is like I always joke, this is how I phrase it with myself, is who wants a photo of me? No one. No one wants a photo of me. However, they do like, so you probably see behind me, I've got those, I've got those Grant Perkin pictures. You probably saw that he's done like a roster image. And it's things like that I think would be nice to sell because, again, talking about the experiences with other British promotions, you get the poster, you get the rest of us to sign it. I like the idea of anyone that's like an autograph collector, they could buy the roster image and then it's their job to try and collect all the autographs. And then they've actually got a very unique piece of merchandise there. So that's sort of the vision of that. When it comes to, again, sorry, talking about pictures, when you have like Fentos, I can see why people would want a picture of Fentos. I can see that. But something that I'd like to do is a bit more, again, collaboration. So I'd like to get more of those sort of drawings done of the roster members, like individual pictures. Again, if we talk about star power for a second, if someone's got merchandise, they naturally have a bit more star power. So again, having company related merchandise, that sounds great. That's fantastic. That'd be great. However, from the wrestler's point of view, I'd be encouraging it. And it comes back to exposure again. If there's a platform for them to regularly perform on, and there's an internet presence that is watching it, it naturally justifies the merchandise. I don't think we've ever really had any justification for it, but maybe in the future we will.
James and Everett, who we all know as Buff Broadside, just put down woohoo, UKPW t-shirts, caps plus more. He's doing a little bit of social media advertising there in the comments. I just had a thought. Yeah, go on.
Oh, sorry, please. Just very quickly on Buff. Buff is a great example of like a teaser of the vision, because I've watched Buff talk to children after the show, be it as the sheriff or as his big tasseltastic character, and there's a real like, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, we like the sportsmanship. Yep, fine. All the cool moves. Yeah, fine. But that's why this is cool. Is you've got a kid there going, can I have your autograph? Can I have your picture? And then having the dad or the mum go, do you know, really enjoyed it. You were our favourite match. There's nothing against. I mean, I think all of us can agree here in this conversation, probably everyone watching at home now, you want to see really good wrestling. Absolutely. Of course you do. But then when you have the family, the moves aren't necessarily as important. The story of the moves is more important. And so sometimes I think we get tarred with a brush of going, these guys don't put on really good wrestling matches. I disagree. There are some fantastic technical clinics out there. But if you pick on me for a second, one of the things I enjoy, and I'm going to big myself up a little bit, is I enjoy watching back the footage. And I like to, obviously, when you have the footage, you have the audio gauge, so you can hear how loud the crowd are. And I'm always quite proud of the fact that I'm always in that top three, that when Dow Jones walks out, boo, because I've been able to build that thing. And again, the moves or whatever. And I'm always quite proud of that. And I'm not saying noise equals you're over or not. It doesn't quite correlate like that.
That's just me near the microphone.
That's also true. That's very fair. Boo.
No, I won't do that one.
But yeah, sorry, coming back to the point though, that we do want to up the wrestling quality, but at the end of the day, it's the moments of the kids going, do you know, like, I'm sure we can think of many high-flying wrestlers. When that wrestler did that backflip to the outside, oh my God, amazing. And it's those, again, Maverick Mayhew, a great example, someone who's very, very good with audience interaction afterwards. So just to shout out Buff, with my own eyes, I saw him talking to a family. It's like, yeah, that's why we do it.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously I can agree with you with Buff. I mean, part of the personal level, I mean, I've made it no secret the way he's my son's favourite UKPW wrestler. I remember one day Buff had a photo with my son on his shoulders, and he just turned around and said, "Do you mind if I use it as my profile picture?" Straight away, I said to my son, I just went to him, "Buff wants to use the photo of you and him on his." Yeah, my son's over the moon over just something so small, because he takes that time. He is this larger than life character, but he oozes that enthusiasm to connect with that young audience, with anyone that shows that appreciation. That's one of the things we love about Buff, is he has that going about him, and I absolutely love Buff. We all do on a personal level. Yeah, just before we finish, do you think that? Do you think that we've got now the foundations now to, how do I word this?
Yes.
Do you think that COVID has been, in terms of preparation wise, a blessing, but it's also been a curse because it's obviously keeping us further, away from being able to get the shows on?
In my perspective, you're pointing to the mouthpiece. So answer his own question. Yes. What do you think? Sorry, because I interrupted, I'll start. Yes, because I know when we initially... There he is, right there. I know when we wanted to initially launch back in February, when we took it over from Anton, we had it planned for May, and we thought, cool, we can get everything sorted by then. I've realised now that we were nowhere near sorted enough. We had nothing really as much prepared as we do now, and even now, in retrospect, even though we have everything, all the ideas we have now, I still think there's still a heck of a lot to do. So my answer is yes, it's been a blessing. It's been irritating we can't show what we're doing, but I think this time of preparation has been invaluable.
Okay. Last question. Well, I'll mention this. Some comment someone's put on it. Hakan's put, that feeling you get when you come into a town where no one knows you, and at the end of the night, someone comes up to you and says, "I hated you," or "Your match was my favourite." Best feeling.
I get that in every town I go. Oh.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, going to a new venue would be great. With the gap, it's slightly reset the wrestling landscape. Who's where, who does what show, and go back to everything we said. We just want to do our thing. We want to don't want to take away anything from anyone else. If anything, we want to build everyone else up. You might have even seen on our Facebook page, we actually share and promote other promotion stuff, because it's like, well, why not? If we're very lucky, and again, thank you so much. If I don't get another chance, thank you everyone that's been watching this live and leaving your comments. It's really greatly appreciated, because I think we can all agree we're all wrestling fans. We all want what's best for everyone. And again, talking about working with other promotions and doing this, 100% on board with this. It's just, we want to do it right, and with everything being reset. So yes, it has been a blessing in some cases. It's been a curse in other cases. But again, to jump on what Fentos was saying, we've got all these things, we've got all these ideas, and I'm sure every promotion does. But it's the following through. So like the fact that we're now doing a live stream right now, hopefully can show like we are trying stuff. We want to do new things. And it's a platform. So spoilers, sorry, again, it's only these guys, sorry, whichever direction I need to point, who are going to moan at me later. Gentlemen. There we go, these gentlemen. The reason why we're doing the live stream is because we want to live stream shows. That's the ultimate goal. We'd love to do a live event that's produced, timed, but the only way we're going to do that is by doing, like, we've got to do this in stages. So that's kind of why we're doing this now. You'll see that all the previous insider interviews have been just one-to-one conversations. This one's got the 4 of us. I'm sure we're going to be able to do some things in the future. So for anyone that is interested, firstly, thank you for watching. But secondly, we really want to do what's best for everyone. And so feedback, comments, they're all loved and appreciated. I can never guarantee that we're going to get back to you super quick, but we will get back to you. That goes for wrestlers that want to work with us. That's people that want to help out. That's people with ideas. Again, anyone watching the video, I want to hear from you. I want to know what you think would be good, because we've not got all the answers. Again, it goes back to my point with all the roster. I want to get on board as many ideas as possible, not taking away from anything from any other promotion. I can't stress that enough. If anything, want to help them, but we want to do our thing, and we want to do our thing to the absolute best of our ability.
I will get to that final question. Again, some great comments. Jodie Waterman has said, never seen you guys before. Been to a few IPW matches previously. Really looking forward to actually come to see you and seeing your plans being put into action. Mitch Davis has said, great watch and listen, guys. Looking forward to your product in the future. Fantastic. And we've got Buffy saying, delicious and Buffalicious at UKPW. Interesting. Liz Stephen seems to be excited about the Turkish Delight coming to UKPW.
Well, someone's got to be.
Yep. And the Dash has said LWF Tag Team Champions Buff and Dash to UKPW. And he also says, good luck with the reboot, guys. Final question is going to be Buff related because he currently holds the Inter-Regional Championship. We know there's discussions over rebranding because the whole, maybe changing it. One idea that's been thrown out is rebranding it the UKPW British Counties Championship, one that I've heard floating around as well. Are you more anywhere with closer to the decision on, yes, it will be rebranded, but we don't know what yet? Or I
think we've established that I'm the belt guy, so I'm going to jump into this one. The way I'm going to answer it, it's it's going to annoy a lot of people. Don't get me wrong, like these guys, again, don't know which way I need to point. These guys are very good at reining me in because I just want to tell everyone everything. But of course, that takes away from the enjoyment of what we're going to do. So all I'm going to say is, until we can get shows going, I can't answer that question for you. I would love to, but there is a plan. But I also want people, again, talking about wrestling. I forget who I was talking to about this, but the Attitude Era ruined wrestling in certain ways because you always want to swerve. You always want, but actually there's nothing wrong with a story where you know the ending. Sorry to bring up things like the Marvel movies, but watching the Avengers, I think we all knew how that was going to end. Despite what anyone says, okay, you might lose the odd character, but I think we all knew how that was roughly going to end. And when it ended the way that it ended, you're like, yeah, I expected that, or within reason. But you don't hate the film anymore because it was the ending that you expected, the happy ending with, okay, a couple of whatever spoilers. I mean, however many years it's been. But you like, oh my God, I was going to watch that tomorrow. And this is what bugs me about wrestling is everyone thinks that you need to swerve, and I disagree. However, coming back to the point, there's a few stories I want people to come along with the journey. And side note, I might have, again, this is where me and some wrestlers get a little bit irritated with me. I don't like planning everything, because what if the crowd aren't interested? If they are not interested in your flippity-doo-dah moves, but they just want to see me fall crotch first on the ropes, you've planned 15 minutes of excellent wrestling
10 times in a row.
Yeah. And so coming to the story thing, yeah, we can have a story arc, we can have a plan, but actually, let's use me as an example. When existing UKPW people watch me wrestle, they'll be like, actually, Dow Jones is awful. This guy's really great. How about getting rid of me and putting someone else in that spot? If you see where I'm coming from, I might have the best plan ever, but actually, if the audience is not enjoying it, why would I force feed that? Why would we do that? So yeah, short answer, we've got a plan, but let's see what happens.
I think there's a double-sided coin with that, what you said about people might think that you're terrible and might think someone else needs to be in that spot. But at the same time, it's still selling it as though, well, people want to see Dow Jones get beat, get his come up.
Yes, they do.
They still want to see that anyway, regardless. But yeah, guys, it's been fantastic. This has been a great experiment, because that's what it has been, essentially. Let us know in the comments of the post or on our page if you would like to see us do more live content. Let us know. We're here for you. We want to give you guys the best that we can, the best content we can.
And to finish off the plug, Kieran Cross, to finish off the plug, if you keep an eye on our YouTube channel, in March, we haven't officially announced it yet, but in March, the plans are to upload classic content every day. So there'll be a full match release every day. So it's going to be some of our old content. So for anyone that's new and is a little bit interested, you could see some of our old stuff. We've got content back from 2014 up until obviously 2019. Obviously the show qualities do get better, but if anyone's interested in watching that stuff, subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's where all of the content's going to be living for the short term.
Fantastic. But yeah, so just let us know. Follow our social medias. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube. Again, that's where you'll see most of our content first when it gets uploaded onto YouTube. Guys, yeah, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for joining, and enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you again very soon. So yeah, so that's it from Dow Jones, Fentos, Martin Raymondson, and the mouthpiece from the Southeast, Kieran Cross. We're UKPW, United Kingdom Pro Wrestling. We'll speak to you soon. Thank you.
Pose. Keep posing. Hogan must pose.